Hello everyone, welcome to Best Recipes with Sharon. Today's recipe is for a really rich tasting dessert. It's for caramel apple bread pudding. And I'll show you step-by-step instructions on how to make this. And for some, this is Thanksgiving weekend, so happy Thanksgiving to those who are celebrating. But before we get started, I wanted to let you know that my first cookbook is available on Amazon. And I have provided a quick link in the description below this video. And also my second recipe book called Treasure Chest of Sweets has been published on Amazon, just waiting for it to be available for purchase. And all the recipes that are featured in my books have a video that matches them on this channel. So that way you can get step-by-step directions on how to do, but also so that you can see what the end product looks like. And I will let you know the moment that Amazon makes this available for purchase. And without further ado, we'll get right back to today's featured recipe. Now we'll start with a loaf of thick sliced bread, and it needs to be white bread. Now, I didn't use up quite the whole loaf of this bread. I used probably between 12 and 14 slices, and I don't use the end pieces in this recipe. Then we cut the bread up into 1-inch cubes. Place those bread cubes on a large cookie sheet. Now, whatever bread you choose, it could be a tiny bit different, so let's just say it in cups. I used about 10 cups. Roughly 10 cups of cubed bread. So we're going to place that in a preheated oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Place it on the middle rack and time it for about 15 minutes. Stale or dry bread helps it to not fall apart or get soggy while it's soaking in the delicious custard mixture that's going to be poured over this. So it allows it to hold its shape while still absorbing the nice flavors. On to the next step, we need 3 apples. Doesn't really matter what type, but the best ones are the cooking apples, like a Macintosh. But whatever you have on hand, you'll cut them up, you'll take the core out, and chop them into little chunks that are probably about 1/2 inch, no more than 1/2 inch through, so that the apples will cook through nicely for you. Now, using 1/2 cup of salted butter, place it in a large frying pan, and melt that butter until it's completely melted. Remove 3 tablespoons and set that aside so that you can use it later. And then go ahead and pour your apples in on that butter that's in the frying pan. Now I'm going to cook and saute these apples in the butter. I'll stir them every once in a while. I want them to start to soften, so that may take about 4 minutes or so. Now I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar, and I use light brown sugar. Add 1.5 cups of half and half cream and another 1.5 cups of heavy cream. Now for some flavor, I add 1 tablespoon of red wine, 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of pure lemon juice. And continue to cook this over a medium to high heat. Bring it up to a simmer and let it simmer for about 3 or 4 minutes until the apples become more tender. The apples should be easily pierced with a sharp knife, but not mushy. It will be slightly thickened up like this. And it looks like this because of the wine and lemon juice mixing with the cream. Now set it aside to cool down a little bit. Now in a separate mixing bowl, add 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk. Add the 3 tablespoons of melted butter that you've already set aside. 1/3 of a cup of light brown sugar, 1 cup of white sugar, and about 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and mix that together until it's well incorporated. And set that aside until we're ready to use it. I use a 9 by 9 inch cake pan. I give it a light greasing on the bottom. You don't have to, but it helps a little bit. I add about 1/2 of the dried bread cubes in the bottom. Spoon and pour 1/2 of the apple mixture in on top of that, and I use a spoon to spread it out evenly. Now pile on the rest of the dried bread cubes. It will seem like there's an awful lot of them, but don't worry about that. Once the custard is poured on, they will shrink down some. Now dump the remaining apple mixture in with the egg mixture, mix it quickly, and then pour it on the top of your bread pudding. Try and spread it evenly and let it run down through the bread cubes. Try to make sure that each piece gets a little custard on it. And I even scrape down the bowl to make sure that we get the last little bit and that it coats on any dry pieces that might be left. Now to finish this off, we're going to take this and put it into a 325 degree oven. We'll place that on the middle rack and slowly bake that. We'll set the timer for about 55 minutes. Now we're going to up the level of this and make it even more decadent. We'll add some caramel sauce that is really something to write home about. And in order to make that sauce, you're going to need 1/4 of a cup of salted butter. Slap that into a medium-sized saucepan, turn your heat on medium-high and continue to add your other ingredients. 1 cup of light brown sugar, half a cup of heavy cream, 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla, and you can add a little sprinkle of salt if you wish. Stir and continue to heat this. I bring it up to a full rolling boil, and then I turn the heat down, let it simmer for between 4 to 5 minutes. You just need to do it long enough for it to boil down, thicken a little bit, and it should lightly coat the spoon like this, and it won't be grainy from the sugar any longer. It'll be nice and smooth. Let it cool down a little bit, and then you can put it into a serving dish, and I'm using this gravy boat because it works quite nicely when you're trying to serve it up. This rich caramel sauce really accentuates the apples in the bread pudding and really gives you the flavor of caramel apples. It's really awesome. I could just eat the sauce. But anyways, here we are. We're bringing our bread pudding out. It should jiggle a little bit like that. Okay, so it should be brown on top with a slight jiggle. This is looking pretty good. Can't wait to try it. So I'm going to show you now what it's like to serve it up. You can serve it up while it's hot, fresh out of the oven. It's probably best to let it sit for a little bit just to cool off a little bit and serve it warm. The longer it has a chance to set, it's easier for you to serve it in one piece and it doesn't fall apart so badly, that's all. But if that doesn't matter, you can eat it right away while it's still hot. This one is still pretty hot. It's holding together reasonably well, but the more you cool it off, like I said, the better it sets. Now you understand why I put this into a gravy boat. It's going to be easy to pour it over the top of each piece and serve it up. Now you should have enough of the bread pudding to make about 9 servings. For some little tidbits of information, this can be made up ahead a little bit. It stores well in the fridge and it also freezes well. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and until next time, happy eating, and now go make some.